is 1991. Birds and people are living together in seemingly perfect harmony, until one day a young man catches fire. This is Phoenix. The year is 1991. Birds and people are living together in seemingly perfect harmony, until one day a young man catches fire. This is Phoenix.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Game Week 4 Knee Jerk stream, a live stream every Sunday where I talk about what's just happened in the previous game week, and this one, game week 3, of course, and we start looking ahead to game week 4, or start looking ahead to the next game week. In this case, it's game week 4, and I suspect this is going to be a lot of, here's why I'm keeping Bruno Fernandes for one more week, despite the fact he hasn't done anything again, but actually, he's really not that big of a concern for me, and I've actually done all right this week. I'm on 81 points. Green arrow, I'm up to like 2.1 million or something like that, which is obviously not great, but it's like game week 3. I'm not going to be massively worried about the overall rank. 2.1 million, gone up from 4.4 in the first, after game week 1. Probably not going to wildcard in game week 4 either. And I think another Haaland hat-trick has kind of put to bed any thoughts about doing that. Because I think if I wildcarded this week, I would probably go for Salah only. And I think from game week 7, I probably wouldn't want to do that. So, yeah, I'm probably just not going to wildcard this week. I think the team looks pretty good, to be honest. Is this pre-recorded because there's no bonus points? No, I just haven't refreshed the stream since I set the stream up. There you go. Bonus points are in now. 81 total. I benched João Pedro as well. I did say on my team selection video that I suspected that using a transfer to bench a penalty taker would backfire. Although, to be fair, he didn't score a penalty. It was a rebound, and Arsenal were down to 10 men. So, look, it is what it is. He's hopefully now going to get another price rise. He looks good for the future. Really good minutes again. Welbeck came off before him. João Pedro played the whole game, I believe. So, pretty happy with that pick. Pretty happy with most of the picks, to be honest. And I think game week 4 looks pretty good for me. I'm almost certainly going to wildcard in game week 6, I think. My biggest issue the next 2 weeks is not having any Liverpool attack. I can get Salah I can get Salah in 2 moves, but I don't want to take a hit for it, so I'll probably just get Salah in game week 5 and then wildcard in game week 6 without Salah. Obviously, everyone's now like, the narrative changes so quickly, honestly. So after game week 1, it was absolute craziness to not have Salah. After game week 2, it was mad not to have Haaland. After Haaland scored another hat-trick, again, people were like, how can you not have him? And now all of a sudden we've got to have both, because obviously Salah's done really well this evening against Man United, as he always does. I'm still happier with one or the other, and I'm pretty sure when I wildcard in game week 6, it will be Haaland only, because when I look at the fixtures coming up, he's the one I'm going to want to captain, not Salah. And so I'll just spread the money around elsewhere, and I'll just continue to see that through, I think. So the current plan is rolling game week 4, maybe Salah in 2 moves in game week 5, and then wildcard Salah out and go back to Haaland only. And I'm kind of, like, things might change, but I'm kind of okay with it. I tried to put together a Haaland and Salah draft earlier. I just don't like it. There's too many sacrifices. I'd like to give you an example of how much the rest of the team matters. Like Praz, for example, has a very similar team to me, apart from he's got Salah and I've got Saka. And then instead of Fernandes, he's got Jota. Like, he had both Salah and Haaland, 17 points each. He captained Haaland. And he outscored me by 4 points. Like, people worry too much about Haaland and Salah specifically, I think. If you want both, you absolutely should. You can make a good draft with it. I just can't make a draft that I'm personally happy with, so I'll probably just go with one and continue doing that. I mean, I might have both for 1 week in game week 5, but as it stands, and obviously I can change my mind, but as it stands, I'll probably just go Haaland only. Is Areola injured? He came off with an injury. I think it was a back injury. We don't know how bad it is and whether he'll be out. But if you went Fabianski, I'm quite jealous, to be honest with you. But we'll see. We'll see. I also had João Pedro on the bench. Yes, lots of people did. I mean, it's Arsenal away, right? It happens. I also had João Pedro on the bench. I can't believe I didn't play and did the same last week too. But it was Arsenal away, right? And they were down to 10 men when they scored. Would that have happened without that? Maybe. It relies too much on those premiums if you choose to have both. Yeah, they're not going to get 17 points every week, right? So I made my decision to go for Haaland. The first week wasn't great. Second week was better. This week's been okay. Just see it out, right? I mean, if you're panicking about overall rank already, it's going to be a very long season for you, I think. Should we be going for Mbermo? Yes, from game week 6, I would say. I think Mbeumo is still perfectly reasonable to pick up this week. Like, Spurs away is not that bad of a fixture. Oh, sorry, no, it's Man City away, isn't it? Yeah, I wouldn't be buying Mbeumo this week. Spurs away is in game week 5. But from game week 6, I think everyone's going to try and get Mbeumo in their team. Was really happy with 80 points until I seen what everyone else got. Yeah, I said this last week. I got 75 last week. It didn't feel like enough. And 81 this week, like, it's good, but it doesn't feel... I mean, I shouldn't complain. Honestly, I've got like a 1.4 million green arrow, so it's fine, but it's not like a lot of the times you'll score 81 and you'll be massively ahead of a lot of other people. Not kind of the same this time. City's defence is shaky. Yeah, but Rico Lewis looks so good going forward. If he keeps starting like he's going to be in everyone's team soon, I'm going to do what I always do and keep ignoring him, thinking that Kyle Walker will come back in, and he probably never will. I think if Rico Lewis plays against Brentford in game week 4 and Arsenal in game week 5, then I will consider him... I will put him in on wildcard 6, I think. I'd have to at that point. Like, if he plays against Arsenal, that's really the decider. Because usually Walker would play in a fixture like that. Rico stayed on when Walker came on. Yeah, because I think Vardiol, he'd like picked up a bit of a knock, I think. Or at least he wasn't completely comfortable. I don't think he's injured, by the way. I think he's absolutely fine. But I think he'd hit... He'd taken a bit of a knock. When do FPL tables refresh with new rankings? I'm not sure, but by tomorrow it would have been done. Imagine if the Trent goal had stood. I literally thought of you when he scored. Yeah, it wasn't great. I was glad at the time. I was glad it was disallowed, and then Man United just got smashed anyway. Absolutely terrible. Again. I have Fabianski and Raya, no contest who to play. Who do West Ham have this week? They have Fulham away. You're probably playing Raya, right? No? Spurs away, maybe? I was messing around with my team, and I think it's possible to have a decent team with both. Like, okay, so if we go to my team, right, and I try and put Salah in. So let's say... I think everyone would take Bruno Fernandes out, which is fair game, right? So we'll put Salah in. And then I need to make up 3.2 million straight away. So Trent, let's just put Trent down to like Robertson instead. He can go in there. And it's 2.2 million. So Isak down to like a cheap forward. Let's just... I probably wouldn't put Meniz in now, but let's just say Meniz. So something like that. So for anyone listening, right, this is my... And look, Barker can be a different 4 million defender. We can just put in, like, Greaves or something. So it's like, it's a 4.5 million goalkeeper. I've got Henderson still, but it could be someone else, right? Konza, Greaves, Robinson, Robertson, Porro. Then midfield of Saka, Smith Rowe, Rodgers, Eze, Salah. And then João Pedro, Haaland, and Meniz up front. Yeah, it could be Vissit, right? Don't get too hung up on who the actual players are right now. It could just be a £6 million forward, right? We don't need. I'm not gonna hit my wildcard button now, so we don't need to focus too much on who the actual players are, right? But that would be a rough structure. So you've got 2 cheap forwards, and you've still got to have Smith Rowe and Rodgers. I got to be honest, I'm not fully convinced by Rodgers' output. I get that he's a really good option for the price. I'm not convinced he's going to get me a huge amount of points. Smith Rowe, Semenyo, Minter, whichever 5.5 it is, could be okay. But it feels like you rely heavily on Salah and Haaland doing well every single week, and it's not going to keep continuing like that. I just think if you drop one, you can have such a better squad overall. Like, I'm okay with Rodgers and Smith Rowe now. I don't think I will be when I wildcard. I think I'd want to beef up the midfield a bit and have a better defence. If you didn't have Saka, you can get a bit of a better balance and have a bench. Yeah, of course. But then you're starting to drop premium players who I really like. Like, you have to have Saka in game week 6. It's Leicester at home and Southampton at home back to back. There's no way I'm going to go without Saka. So that's not an option. Yeah, I don't want to drop Saka for Havertz either. I'd rather drop Salah, get Havertz, and then have a much better midfield and defence. Jota is failing the eye test. Yeah, I think that's something people say when they... I bet that just sounds like a comment because he's blanked today. Whereas the first 2 games, everyone was raving about him. He's still a good pick if he's starting. the chances are till rotation hits, they will do okay every week. Yeah, but I'm not going to wildcard this week just to get Salah in. I'm just going to captain Haaland. I just don't have that. I'm just not in a mad rush to get both of them, really. I'm just going to continue with one for now and probably be perfectly okay with it. What would you do with Watkins? Well, I would definitely keep him, I think. Can't believe how early he came off, though. 88 points this week, still hit the wild card. Real question is Eze or Diaz. Eze all day long. I plan on getting in Burma in game week 6, and I already have Haaland, Salah, and Trent. Nice. Saka, Isak to Salah, João Pedro now, or wait? 0.3 leeway. I'd probably wait. Although, that's a pretty good move, isn't it? I'd personally prefer to wait because it's the international break. What do you make of Vardy going forward? 3 blanks. Well, he's not as good value as Rico Lewis if he keeps starting, but I still like Vardio's got Brentford at home, so take it 1 week at a time. Unless you need the money from downgrading Vardio, I don't see a massive rush to get him out. Like, you need to try and let go of what's happened and just think about what's going to happen in the future, right? Vardio is similar to Bruno Fernandes in a way. Fernandes has blanked 3 game weeks in a row. Do I wish I'd never started with him? Absolutely. But am I going to use a transfer to get rid of him before Southampton away? Probably not. I think that's a perfectly reasonable fixture to keep him for. So I would think the same with Vardy. Yeah, okay, he's maybe not being as attacking, but Brentford at home is a good fixture. So unless you've got a real massive need to get rid of him. Oh yeah, Vardy hasn't blanked every week, has he? Good point. Yeah, game week 1 it was 2-0 against Chelsea. So he's actually one ahead of Bruno Fernandes. So even better, definitely keep him. I think it's time to let go of Bruno. Honestly, would you really spend a transfer to sell Bruno Fernandes before Southampton away? I feel like this is the same thing that got people to sell Eze before he scored against Chelsea, to sell Isak before he scored against Spurs. The kind of knee-jerking that made everyone rush out to get Madueke, etc. I don't see it. I think that's a really terrible use of a transfer, if I'm honest with you. If I had 2 free transfers, I would definitely consider Fernandes and Saka to Minter and Salah. So I'm not against getting rid of him, but I don't think there's much I can do in one move. Because if I do Fernandes to Jota, I can't get Salah. So I'm probably just going to hold him, honestly. Yeah, you wouldn't have put him in the first place, but this is what I'm saying. People focus so much on what's already been, and they don't think ahead. Like, I knew when we started this stream up, all people would be, or not all people, but a lot of people would just go on about the fact that he's been terrible. Like, I'm not sitting here disagreeing. I've never tried to get people to buy Bruno Fernandes at all, but we're focused now on game week 4. I can't go back in time, you know? I think Southampton away is fine. Is it knee-jerk to get Muniz out for João Pedro? I still think Muniz is okay. I think he's done a bit of points dodging, to be honest with you. But João Pedro does look great for the next 2. Have Areola and Turner, so in a goalkeeper emergency, have 4 point... Why didn't you go for Fabianski? Anyway, you can't go back in time, like I just said. Have 4.9 available with parting with Areola, open to making a second move to solve. Well, like, are you wildcarding soon? Have you already wildcarded? Like, it really depends. 4.5 million goalkeepers are a bit tricky. Like, if you're going to wildcard in 6, I'd be tempted just to get Henderson with 2 back-to-back home games, something like that. I need to have a proper look at the fixtures, to be honest. I've not thought too much about goalkeepers. Or even Verbruggen, actually. Verbruggen, Ipswich at home, and Forest at home. If you're wildcarding in 6. If you're not, then maybe Flecken longer term, but then you're bringing him in before 2 terrible transfers. 2 terrible fixtures. I'd much rather keep Fernandes and he blanks rather than selling him and he scores. Yeah, it's not even about that. It's just he's got Southampton away. Like, I don't know what more I can say, really. I'm considering wildcarding for this team. Help me out, please. Steele, Fabian. Well, Steele's not first choice goalkeeper anymore. Konza, Matsraoui, Robinson, Porro, Rogers, Salah, Cole Palmer, Gravenberch. Gravenberch is not an FPL option either. That team doesn't look worth a wildcard to me. João Pedro, Haaland, Solanke, Saka. Okay, what's the question? Thoughts on game week 6 wildcard? I mean, we're in game week 4, remember that. So I've looked briefly at game week 6, but not massively. Amad Diallo I wouldn't put on, although I will say this. The next game for Man United should be Garnacho and Amad Diallo starting. I don't think Rashford was terrible, but like he wasn't great. Let's just say that. That potentially looks like a very good game week 6 wildcard, but let's reassess in game week 6. Saka, João Pedro, Haaland, a Southampton 4.5 attacker, Ross Stewart. Yeah, you could do that, 3-5-2, and just play João Pedro every week. I'm on a wildcard. Thoughts on Jackson as an option? Yes, I think he's the second most nailed Chelsea attacker behind Cole Palmer. So I quite like him. Pretty well set up for game week 4. Start Rodgers versus Everton or Smith Rowe versus West Ham. I'm currently starting Smith Rowe, but I'm actually not sure if that's the right call. Because Smith Rowe will probably get subbed early. Rodgers won't, I don't think. Although it is Champions League between 4 and 5. I just feel like Smith Rowe is going to be the one that's going to get me something. So I'm currently playing Smith Rowe, but I'm really not 100% sure about that. We're so disappointed in Diogo. Should I sell? What were you disappointed about? He got 2 returns in the first 2 game weeks. And he's got 2 back-to-back home fixtures. I tripled up on Arsenal defence. I was happy, but with the Rice ban, I'm getting worried. What are your thoughts on the second yellow? Well, like, it's soft, but don't kick the ball away, I guess, you know? Press the wild. There's no way I'm wildcarding this team, unless I get injuries. So for the benefit of anyone listening or kind of only half watching, I've got Henderson in goal against Leicester at home, Konza Everton at home, Robinson West Ham at home, Trent Nottingham Forest at home, Eze Leicester at home, Fernandes Southampton away, Saka Spurs away, Smith Rowe West Ham at home, João Pedro Ipswich at home, Haaland captain Brentford at home, and he's at Wolves away with Rodgers and Pedro Porro on the bench. I'd basically be wildcarding to get 2 extra Liverpool players. That's it. That would be the only reason to wildcard this week. And do you know what the problem is? In game week 6, I'm going to want 3 Arsenal players. The reason I said Rashford wasn't terrible is because he did set up a couple of chances, which we should have scored from. But overall, I'd rather have Garnacho that side, and Amad Diallo looked good when he came on. Wildcard 6 must-haves. What would the team look like? Again, I've only briefly looked at it because there's plenty of stuff that could happen before it. But an Arsenal defender, Saka, Haaland, Mbeumo, Flecken would probably be on it. Maybe Konza, I'd have to double-check the fixtures going on after that. Maybe a third Arsenal as well, Odegaard, or Havertz would probably be the one. Or maybe a second defender. Something like that. Annoying to have an international break already. I know they're so early, aren't they? But I don't mind too much. I'm kind of looking forward to the break. Garnacho seems like a risk for minutes, though. I don't think he will be long term. I really don't think he will be, but let's see. I could be wrong about that. Look at Smith Rowe's minutes. 61, 64, 69. 2 weeks and he'll be on 80. We'll see. We'll see. Havertz is so nailed right now. Literally 90 minutes every game. Yeah, absolutely. I spoke about that last week. Especially with Jesus with the injury he's got, which I don't think is a big one, but he's injured, obviously. And Nketiah's gone now as well. Any Liverpool assets on wildcard 6? Only Trent. I don't think I would have Trent on wildcard 6, no. Because Liverpool's fixtures get a little bit tougher then. Like, Wolves away and Palace away are not bad, but like as a combination, Wolves away, Palace away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Brighton at home, Villa at home. Lots of home games there, and obviously they've been really good defensively so far. But I'm not sure there's as many clean sheets in this run, really. So I probably just won't go for Trent. And also, if you want to have like Eze, Mbeumo, Saka, and Haaland, like, it gets very difficult money-wise. So you've got to downgrade somewhere. So I don't see myself having Trent on wildcard 6, but look, things can change. Things can change. Is Welbeck any good for game week 4? Like, he's fine, but I'd rather have João Pedro. Muniz to João Pedro. The thing is, like, Muniz to João Pedro is fine as a transfer, but he has got West Ham at home himself, Muniz. So I don't know if there's a mad rush to do it, but given the fact João Pedro is cheaper, I do prefer him. No way I'm getting rid of Trent. I mean, I'm not getting rid of him for the back-to-back home games, but I might get rid of him for the back-to-back away games, followed by Chelsea and Arsenal, you know? That's all. Why do you have the same hand actions on all your YouTube short videos? People have started to notice. It's just how I record. Should I triple captain Haaland? I mean, it almost feels stupid to say no after back-to-back hat-tricks, but I think there'll be better single game week fixtures like Southampton at home in game week 9, maybe. Porro out for Robinson. I would probably keep Porro, especially if you can bench him this week. He's got Brentford at home in Gameweek 5. Like, he was so attacking against Newcastle again. I feel like I got away with it benching him. This game is so depressing. Why do I even play it? Honestly, if you feel like that, you should just not play it. Like, you shouldn't play things that aren't fun. I didn't like the 4.5 million goalkeeper, so I went for Pope. Nice. I'm not the biggest fan of Newcastle defence right now, I would say. If I was going to go for a 5 million goalkeeper, it'd probably be Martinez maybe for Aston Villa. Possibly. Or I'd just pay the extra 0.5 for Raya. Yeah, Porro had 6 shots today. Madness. Did I get Oasis tickets? Nope. I mean, I was streaming. I didn't even bother trying to get them, to be honest. Newcastle looked awful. So I watched about the last, I think, 5 or 10 minutes of the first half and then the whole of the second half. And Newcastle were terrible. I feel quite lucky to have walked away of an Isak return, to be honest with you. Like, it was a bit like HAALAND, right? I didn't watch the first half of Man City West Ham, and I watched the second half. And I think when he scored the goal for the hat trick, I think that's the first time I saw him shoot the whole second half. Like, same with Isak. Hardly any chances whatsoever. They were really poor. But is it worth a free transfer to get rid of him before Wolves away? I'm probably not going to bother doing that. I'm just going to keep him. But he was terrible. Delap is a second cheap forward option. I just... The thing is with like Ipswich players, etc. Like, I'm okay with the 4 million defenders if they're going to play, right? But he's 5.5. I know he scored, right? But he's 5.5, so you got the same price, or almost the same price as someone like a Brighton attacker who's on penalties. I actually don't know who's on penalties for Ipswich. I'd have to look it up. I'm sure someone in the chat can tell me. I just can't see me putting an Ipswich forward. I know the fixtures are good. I get it. Well, they're okay actually. They got 3 away games in the next 4. To be honest with you, I think I would just go for João Pedro. Like, this is not that much more expensive. They got good fixtures from 6. Who is on penalties for Ipswich? Someone in the chat must know. There must be some Ipswich fans here. I feel like that's the kind of thing I should definitely already know, but I'm going to be honest and say I don't. The penalty taker is Clark or Schmodix, most likely. Okay. Someone else says it's Delap. There you go. It's one of 3 different players. It seems like no one knows for sure. Makes me feel better. When do you think Solanke will come back? Probably game week 4, like after the international break. Is Luis Diaz worth it over Salah as a budget option? I mean, again, you should just be deciding whether Luis Diaz is worth it compared to other players at his price. Like, don't worry about Salah. And as with all Liverpool attackers, if you think they're going to start, they're good options. And right now, it's pretty clear that Diaz, Jota, and Salah is first choice, right? That's what we've seen in the first 3 game weeks. Will that change around Champions League? We'll have to see. 99 points this week, 97 last week, inside the top 50k. Very nice. Massive, massive scores. Why is Solanke's price locked? Got no idea. How do you think the Champions League fixtures will affect game week 4 teams? Probably not massively, but you might see like earlier substitutions and stuff like that. Like players like Salah and Saka, etc. They're not just going to suddenly get benched. Like, who knows, right? Players like Rodgers, possibly. I doubt it. I think he'll start. Is Watkins being ignored as an option? No, there was a ton of questions about him last week. I think Champions League is worth thinking about, and we'll definitely mention it quite a lot. But I wouldn't like. I don't know how I want to say this. Yeah, I wouldn't just start ignoring players playing in Europe like completely or anything like that. That would be mad, right? They're still going to have to play Premier League games as well. I think we probably overthink the amount of minutes a player is going to lose. But I do think it's interesting in particular for players like Jota and Diaz with Gakpo and Darwin just right there. Like, instead of coming off on like the 80th minute, 75th, could they come off like 60, 65? It's possible, right? Whereas someone like Saka and Salah, they're just going to play probably 90 minutes. Maybe a little bit earlier if the game's absolutely won. How to solve a Lewis Hall, Johnson, Barco problem. Transfers. I mean, you're going to have to make a transfer, right? Or just switch it on wildcard. Watkins seems to be ignored now. Well, he's not playing many minutes, is he? That's a problem. More people will look at him game week 4 onwards. He's not necessarily a player I'm going to be bringing in anytime, though, soon. Maybe in game week 5, but then I'd have to sell HAALAND. I have a defence of Gabriel, Porro, and Vardio. I definitely feel like letting go of one of them. Any thoughts? I guess with the fixtures they got coming up, maybe Porro. Like, you will want Gabriel, I think, from game week 6 onwards. And Vardio's upcoming fixtures are pretty good. It's quite funny the change on Watkins, though, because when I said that I was going to avoid him in game week 1 in that video I made really early in pre-season, the amount of comments about how essential Ollie Watkins was. Madness. And now, like, he is in some teams, but maybe not as many teams as we expected him to be at this point. But you've got to take into account new information, and the fact that he's not playing that many minutes is a problem. And also, by the way, Duran keeps coming on and scoring. Surely Watkins' minutes improve, or does Champions League make it worse? I think Champions League will make his minutes worse than they were last year, but I think overall his minutes of what we've seen so far will definitely improve. Duncan, have Salah, Jota and Robertson, nice. I want Mbeumo and Semenyo soon, but price change is happening. Should I sell Jota to Mbeumo now to fund Rodgers out later? Honestly, I think that would be nuts to do that move. Mbeumo's got Man City away. Jota has Forest at home. I think that would be a madness move just because of price changes. Like, you still got to try and get points. Like, price change, like, I know I've made 2 transfers in the first 2 weeks or in game week 2 and 3 to avoid price drops, but that's a little bit different because those players were duds. Jota is not a dud. Is Onana this year's Douglas Luiz? I find that highly unlikely because he's probably not on penalties. Is Watkins a must sell? Absolutely not. Duran only 6 million, good price, even knowing 30 minutes average. There's absolutely no reason you should be looking at Duran. Not starting Rodgers against this Everton team. Surely if he's going to return, it's this week. Yeah, it might be Rodgers or Smith Rowe, but honestly, like, there's just no point in massively thinking about it right now. I don't need to make the decision for another 2 weeks, or just under 2 weeks, I guess. Who's the real problem, Ten Hag or the players? Yeah, I'm always a bit wary about talking about Man United just after a game because I think there is the proneness to overreact. But look, last year Man United's numbers were not good, and I said this before. I was really surprised at how happy people were that Ten Hag was staying on. Like, fair enough if you don't want to actively like protest for him to leave the club. I would never do that, but I was surprised at how many people were so happy that he was staying on. That's what I'll say on Ten Hag. But also, like, if you look at the midfield options today, like trying to get Casemiro off the pitch, madness. And okay, Ugarte will come in, but it still feel like the midfield is like a bit of a problem still. And like Man United, just we're going to get off Man United in a second because it's boring, but they just can't pass for like more than 20 seconds before they have to like just smash the ball forward. It feels like there's just no control at any point. There's no one there just saying, do you know what, just chill. Just chill for like 30 seconds and keep the ball. Just never seems to happen. Not enough, anyway. Do you think Luka Dean is a nailed good option? Again, Champions League coming up, we might see a bit of rotation there. I'd be surprised if Maatsen just continues to be benched. Newcastle weren't awful. They defended well and the counter-attack was ruthlessly. Man United, they were awful. Yeah, I mean, Newcastle were pretty awful. Spurs should have scored way more goals. Like, the Man United thing's got nothing to do with it. Man United were also bad today, but so were Newcastle. Especially in the second half. I think I'm going to have to do Bailey to Mitoma tonight because of the price falls. Very annoying. Yeah, that is a bit annoying. Picked up an injury. I don't know how bad it is. Don't know if we've had information about that yet. I've not seen anything. I mean, Mitoma looks good for the next two games, but I mean, I've got to keep pointing out, like, it is an international break. Lots of players playing for their countries. There might be more injuries. Unless you absolutely have to, I would try and avoid moving early. But if you're absolutely sure that's the move to make and you've got exact money, then there might be a reason to go early. Do I think with the pricing of the forwards it's likely to be a 3-4-3 season? Not necessarily. I mean, to be honest with you, if you're going to go with a squad with a bit of depth, so you're not going to go for like a 4.5 midfielder or a forward, I think it's just going to be a mix of 3-5-2/3-4-3. Like if I was going to go for a Haaland and two cheap forward system, then obviously sometimes it'll be 3-5-2, sometimes it'll be 3-4-3. Is Livramento a good buy at 4.5? I would just avoid Newcastle defence right now. I don't think the fixtures are good enough. Trippier's still there. Oh, it looks like Livramento's first choice. I get that, but I don't really see him as like a major rush to get in. Like I haven't looked properly at wildcard 4 yet, but I can't imagine I'd have a Newcastle defender if I was wildcarding this week. How many Man United players can start for Man City? Probably 0. Probably 0. Is there anyone I'm forgetting? Like, yeah, 0. I think everyone would agree with that. I think there's a single player. Like, I don't want to be too harsh. Like, I think Dalot has played well considering he's playing left back. Mazraoui's been good. I thought De Ligt was pretty good today. There was at least one really bad pass he made, but I thought he was alright for a time. Martinez was pretty good for most of the time, but they're not getting into Man City's team. I went to change my vice captain to Saka Friday night and somehow hit the wrong button and captained him instead of Haaland. Ouch. If you wildcard now, would you chase the rises and avoid the drops, then change the team to what you want prior to the deadline? That's absolutely what you should do, yeah. Am I tempted to have both Haaland and Salah? We spoke about that quite a lot earlier on. Probably not. Will Tonali improve Newcastle significantly once fit? There should be an improvement there when he plays regularly, yeah. But I still don't think they've really got great fixtures. Why are auto subs not working? It just takes time, that's all. I was a bit disappointed with Haaland's performance this week. Should I consider a change to Solanke and then upgrade the midfield? I'm not sure if that's a troll or not. Rodgers is a myth. Don't want that anywhere near my team. I mean, I don't think... Like, again, I did kind of say this like last week and the week before. Actually, it was mostly last week, I think. You need to temper your expectations a little bit. He's a 5 million midfielder. He's not the next Mo Salah. He's not another Cole Palmer. Like, he is a good bench option. I'm concerned Bruno will drop further in price. I mean, he'll almost certainly drop this week. I wouldn't... I don't think he's near a price drop yet, but he will be soon. Yeah, he's minus 50%. So he will drop before Gameweek 4 deadline. How did I get on in Sleeper? Terrible. I need to check who's won Gameweeks 2 and 3. How long have I been doing FPL content on a professional level? It sounds weird when you call it professional. I know it technically is because it's my job, but I don't know, like 4 or 5 years, something. The late window moves are bound to shake things up. Sterling with the points to prove and most defensive attention on Saka's side might lead to easy tap-ins if when he gets starting role. Yeah, I'm not sure how quickly Sterling will come into the team, but I think it's possible. If I want to avoid another price drop for Bruno, who would you recommend? I'm quite tempted to go for Minter at Brighton. Otherwise, I guess Jota or Diaz for Liverpool. And just hope they keep starting, which they probably will, judging by what's happened so far. Foden in which game week? We'll have to wait and see when he's back fit and playing, really. Right now, it's just a wait and see. I couldn't tell you which game week to bring him in. Bogard or Nedeljkovic? Who do you think starts Everton at home? I've got no idea, but it's not worth the hassle of buying either. Saka to Salah, a smart move with the plan to get Saka back in wildcard 6. Yeah, if I could do Saka to Salah in one move, I probably would. Is Lewis a risky transfer? Again, the fact you have to ask probably means yes, right? I think there's a good chance to start against Brentford, though. He's been brilliant, honestly. He can do so much in that team. Foden allegedly back after the international break. Yeah, he probably will be, but whether he'll go straight into the team, who knows? I mean, they're doing really well without him, right? They don't need to rush it. 300 hours till the deadline is crazy. Yeah, so for anyone who watched the videos last season, the deadline timer wouldn't work unless it was less than 24 hours to the deadline. But now now it seems to update properly. So at the time of recording, there is 302 hours, 25 minutes, and 28 seconds until the deadline. Thing is with Lewis, we say he's a minutes risk, but he'll keep on getting the points. I think I might buy him. I think the thing with Rico Lewis is he's so cheap, it feels like quite a low risk punt. Now, I wouldn't necessarily want a wild card and have him as my third or fourth defender. But let's say you had like a Rico Lewis as your fifth defender. That if things went wrong, you wouldn't be forced into having to make a bunch of transfers in your defense. I think that's pretty good. Maybe fourth defender, I guess. Thoughts on Brentford assets? Flecken, a defender, in Burmo, Vissa, all really good. But from game week 6, I just wouldn't rush in to get them now. Man City away. What are you going to do for 300 hours? I don't know. Why does it feel like everyone is using loads of chips early this season? I think lots of people always do that. But I think people have been saying since pre-season that an early wildcard was probably on the cards. Like, you've had 3 weeks worth of info. The transfer window is shut. There was Euros as well and Copa America, so minutes weren't necessarily where we expected them to be for some players. So early wildcard was always on the cards for people. And then triple captain was just a case of there might be a lack of double game weeks later on and too many chips to use, so people thought they'd use it on HAALAND early, which I'm very jealous of. I didn't do. Ryan, thank you. 7 goals in 3 games from HAALAND. I mean, he's pretty good. So is Salah, though. They're both pretty good. Might sound crazy, but I'm considering captaining João Pedro this week over HAALAND. Thoughts? I mean, again, it's very difficult to just not go HAALAND if you've got him. Like, Palmer was a great captain choice in game week 3, but HAALAND is HAALAND, right? Like, it's absolute joke. He's got like 70 goals in 69 games. Something like that. Premier League games. It's madness. Eze saved you a bit of credibility this week. I mean, yes, someone said that to me. Like, again, someone mentioned Bruno earlier, but I've got like an assist for Robertson. I got 4 points from Henderson because he got 6 saves. Trent got a clean sheet. Eze scored. Isak scored. Haaland hat-trick. Saka assist. Like, it really wasn't that bad of a week. Like, Eze was a perfectly good pick, but the problem is people are just too trigger happy at the start of the season that anyone that doesn't score for like a week or two, they see him as like they've got to go. It has to sell them. There's no patience anymore. Haaland is the FPL GOAT? No, that's Salah. Come on. Would you transfer Bruno to Jota? Maybe. I won't in my team for the reasons I mentioned earlier, and that is that I probably want to leave a route open to get Salah. But I don't hate Fernandes to Jota. I would hope that Fernandes can match him this week, to be honest. I know that sounds crazy right now. But it is Southampton away. He is on penalties. His minutes will be better than Jota. There is a chance that Fernandes will outscore Jota this week. And no, I've not gone insane. Madueke is looking incredible for Chelsea. Could be a good pick. Yeah, I tweeted earlier, I wonder if I've misjudged his minutes. Because Neto keeps playing on the left. Mudryk is terrible, so he's not going to get a starting role anytime soon in the league. Sancho is signed, but his best position's on the left as well. So part of me thinks maybe Madueke doesn't have a huge amount of competition, plus he's playing really well. But then when I take a step back, Palmer can still play on the right. Neto can also play on the right. And if Sancho ends up playing on the left, then Neto might move to the right in some games and Madueke might come out. So I think short term, I probably have misjudged Madueke's minutes a little bit. And he probably is quite a good pick for the price. But I still think long term, I just don't know if I need that hassle. And there's lots of good midfielders. I just don't know if I can be bothered putting Madueke in there. I just don't think I probably will. Just don't see me doing that. This week isn't the Southampton game 2 weeks away. Yeah, but when we say this week, we mean game week, right? Madueke is registered for Europa Conference. Sancho and João Felix aren't. Yeah, I think I maybe, like I said, I maybe misjudge his minutes, but I think ignoring him is probably good. Unsurprisingly, he's not going to score a hat-trick every week, I don't think. Bruno, Saka, Kwanzaa to Jota, Salah, Dunk -4. Oof, I got the exact money and already have Trent, so Kwanzaa would have to go. I'd be a little bit tempted by that. I've got to be honest, but I wouldn't want to do it this early. Will you play Smith Rowe over Rodgers in game week 4? Maybe. Again, like I'm not really that. I haven't thought about it that much. Like, there's part of me that thinks I should play Rodgers because it's Everton at home. To be honest with you, but I just think Smith Rowe is probably the better FPL option overall. It's quite close. FPL says the average points are 35. Is that true? I highly doubt that. What to do with Nkunku? Swapping with Mitoma? Do you know, I honestly, depending on what your future transfer plans are, I quite like the idea of going for Minter and saving money. But it's not to say that Mitoma is a bad option, because he's not. Southampton look awful. 3 game weeks in and can't see Ramsdale saving them from being relegated. Possibly. Maybe that's good news for Bruno Fernandes, eh? Bailey to Wink, Son to Rodgers, and then Isak to Haaland with 3 free transfers. That looks pretty good to me, yeah. Again, I wouldn't want to make moves this early unless you absolutely had to. Thoughts on Gordon out for Luis Diaz or Jota? I think Gordon's okay to keep. I think Jota and Diaz are probably better the next 2 weeks. Although I'm probably going to be wrong about it, but I still can't get out of my head the fact that they've got Champions League coming up. And the minutes are only going to go down, not up. And Gakpo and Darwin Nunez can come in. It's not that I don't think they'll start. They could just come off earlier. I still like Gordon, but it's clear that Liverpool have better fixtures, right? That's not a move I would make early. That is not a move I would make early, despite how bad Newcastle were. I'd want to wait until closer to the deadline. I don't think that's worth risking, personally. Who should I bench next week between Ahmad and Muniz? Probably Amad Diallo, because you can't be sure he's going to start, but I guess wait for more news closer to the time. Am I making a move this week, or am I rolling to open up options? I'm probably rolling. I don't see many upgrades. I've only got 1 transfer. Keep that in mind. Have I considered Paquetá or Savinho? Not really, to be honest with you. I think Savinho obviously missed out the last game. Could come straight back in. Has looked good when he's played. Paquetá, no real interest. I guess he's on penalties, but not. No real thoughts. I do have $1 million in the bank, by the way, because I got Smith Rowe for Nkunku, so I could do Smith Rowe to Mitoma. There is part of me that thinks about doing that, which is madness because I only just bought him in. I probably won't do that. But Smith Rowe to Mitoma or Minter is definitely a consideration. Although, I think Mitoma's gone up in price, hasn't he? So I can't actually afford that. I'm probably talking rubbish, as I always do. Has he gone up yet? Yeah, 6.6. Scratch that. It'd have to be Minter. Semenyo is the best FPL asset. Mark my words. You could be right. You're still holding on to Bruno. Brave. Is it really brave to hold on to a player before Southampton away? What do you think about Chiesa as an FPL option? He's not an option at all. People wanting to bring in Brighton players, but game week 5 I want to get rid afterwards. Yeah, well, that's because they got 2 good fixtures, right? That's why you want to get rid of them afterwards, because the fixtures turn. But that's why people want to get them in now. Would I consider bringing in Palmer over Saka? I'd rather have Palmer this week than Saka and next week, but I've got no... Again, I could afford it. I could afford to do Saka to Palmer, but I probably won't do it. I think Saka's fine against Spurs away. How risky are early transfers? Ish, but like it really depends on the risk to reward, right? For some people, their exact moves they know they definitely want to do. If they've got no money spare, it might be worth it. Especially if you've got like a deep squad that can bail you out if it goes wrong. But if you can, I would probably wait. What's a better transfer? Isak to João Pedro or Gordon to Minter? I need the funds from one of these moves. Long term, I think Isak to João Pedro. I think João Pedro is going to be a better option than Minter. But if you're like keeping them for 2 weeks, then wildcarding in 6, I think I'd rather do Gordon to Minter and keep Isak. The hauls from some of the expensive template picks have been mad. Have Haaland and no attractive route to Salah. Would love to get Palmer in though. There's going to be swings this year. Like I said it pre-deadline. There's going to be lots of swings this season. And good players are going to score points. And it's going to be about holding your nerve. How much team value is okay to lose while waiting? Great question. I don't think there is the one thing to point out is most players won't double drop quickly. Like Fernandes, for example, if he drops in the next couple of days, very unlikely he'll drop again before the deadline. And if he does, it'll be much closer. Like if you're going to lose like 0.3 to 0.5 million, I would be tempted to go early, but you do it knowing the risks, right? And you have to decide if you're willing to accept that. Like I was okay making early transfers for duds with hardly any. Well, I know there was midweek games last week, but a lot of players didn't play in them. I'm a lot less happy about going early over an international break. Am I going to go on Raptor's new podcast show? Probably not, because I don't live in London, basically. I live in Ireland. And it's in studio. So annoyed that I captained Palmer last second. I would be top 120k if I captained Salah. It happens. It happens. I wonder if the guy who asked me on the Final Thoughts video about captaining Son over Salah went for Son, or if they went for Salah in the end. Thoughts on starting one of the new Brighton signings? Well, I think the front three will probably, or the front four will probably be the same in Game Week 4 as we've already seen. Like João Pedro, Minter and Matoma will probably all start. Xander, thank you very much. Chris Wood to João Pedro now. Thoughts? What's the rush of getting rid of Chris Wood? Keep starting. Keep scoring. He does have an away game this week, though, doesn't he? Oh, yes, Liverpool, of course. I guess João Pedro's better for the next two, but if Chris Wood keeps starting, he's okay to hold, I think. Would you get rid of Gordon? If so, who for? Still got 3 chances in the back. I'd be tempted, yeah. Brighton, midfielder, maybe a Liverpool one. I think with Gordon, like, I would still put him in the category of I'm not going out of my way or in a mad rush to get rid of him. But if you've got 3 free transfers and hardly anything to do, there probably are upgrades you can make. You can punt on the fixtures for the next couple of weeks a bit more. People are going to get rid of Meniz, but I'm a wait. I will wait all season because I refuse to get rid of him without getting at least an assist. Nice. What's that called? Isn't that sunken cost or something? Armstrong to João Pedro. That seems like a pretty good move, yeah. I mean, Armstrong got hooked at half-time, didn't he? We all thought he was absolutely nailed, but incorrect. He was not absolutely nailed. You mentioned wildcard 4, but are you now waiting until game week 6? Yeah, and the main reason is Arsenal. I think, like, if I was to wildcard this week, I think I'd have to go triple Liverpool. It would feel mad to me to wildcard without having at least double, right, but probably triple Liverpool for 2 really good back-to-back home games. And we shouldn't forget that Liverpool's 2 games afterwards are not that bad. They're both away, but it's like Wolves and Palace. You'd be more than happy playing your Liverpool players in those games. So it's not that they have to go straight away. But in game week 6, I want 3 Arsenal players. But Arsenal play Man City in game week 5. So I don't want to load up on Arsenal players in game week 4 just for game week 6 when they've got City. So it's a really annoying transition. And of course, you could set yourself up where you save the transfer in 5 and 6. And some of you might already have 3 free transfers. Like, if you've already got 3 free transfers and you're wildcarding, then you can roll another 2. So you've got 5 moves to deal with Arsenal players. That might be a pretty good position to be in. And maybe wildcard 4 will work for you. But for me, I've got no free transfers. And so I'd only have 2 in game week 6. And then I'd have none after that. So it's just a really tricky week, I think, for wildcarding. Whereas in game week 6, I'd probably go with 1 or 0 Liverpool players, 3 Arsenal. a bunch of Brentford as well. I'm not keen on wildcard 4. It feels like there's a lot of players you need to have, but they don't have great fixtures next 2. And don't get me wrong, Arsenal attackers are probably perfectly fine against Spurs away, but in general, it's still, I don't know. I don't like it. And also, by the way, I'll tell you what part of it is. I'll be completely honest. If I wildcard this week, I would probably go without Haaland. And that's another player that, one, I'm too scared to go without at the moment after getting me back-to-back hat-tricks. And in Game Week 7, I'm going to want him back. I think I could probably get away with no Haaland in Game Week 6 for Newcastle away because I would just captain Saka anyway. But Game Week 7, I'm going to want him back. And I don't want to have to deal with getting Arsenal players in and Haaland and then having like Brentford players against Man City away. So I don't think the wildcard 4 is terrible. I really don't. But I think for my team, it makes more sense to wildcard 6. And also, I think my team looks okay this week. I know most people won't agree with me, but I think it's fine. A Spurs defender is a bad option. I don't think Porro is a bad option. Can I ask why you think people like João Pedro over Welbeck? João Pedro's minutes are better. They probably will be better longer term. I think there's more chance that Welbeck comes out of the team than João Pedro. And João Pedro's probably on penalties as well. When are you wildcard? I literally just spoke about that. Just rewind back about a minute. Is it bad to have money in the bank? Not if you're happy with your team. You can always save it for a rainy day. Saka captain against Spurs, he humiliates them on the regular. I mean, I've got Haaland against Brentford at home, so I don't even have to think about captaincy this week. I think if you've got both Haaland and Salah, it's a bit more interesting, but presumably most people are just going to go Haaland. Do we know anything about Taylor Harewood Bellis early sub? No. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any news about that. Any Southampton fans? What minute did he get subbed off in? Was he not on... Let me have a look here. Where is he? Well, came off in the 55th minute. Don't know if he was injured. Was he on a yellow card? He was on a yellow card. Maybe that's why. Did they change formation? Fabianski, 4 million keeper. Yeah, but I wouldn't rush out to get him. Unless we know that Ariola's out for ages. Yeah, 55 minutes. He was on a yellow card as well. I don't know if he was injured or not, though. Generally got no idea. Something else I'll have to... he was subbed because he was awful. Is that actually why? He made a mistake that led to the goal. Is Diaz more likely to keep his place than Jota? Not necessarily. My gut instinct is that is probably a correct thing to think, but I don't think it's like 100%. He also had 2 pretty shaky games, missing easy pass in the build-up. Are any 4 million defenders safe? Greaves? Is he safe? Mosquera at Wolves? Isak to João Pedro tonight before the price rise / drop. I think Isak's fine, so unless you need the money for something, I'd probably wait. Fast, yeah, but he's not 4 million anymore. It's 4.1. Smith Rowe coming off early is annoying me. It shouldn't be too much of a surprise, though. Marco Silva did say he'd have to build up his fitness. We need that sweet Bruno Fernandes 11-point penalty. Come on. A penalty in the 98th minute when there was only like 2 minutes added on time. That's what we need. Isak to Xerxes. Xerxes had our best chances today, but I wasn't that impressed. I don't want to you don't want to judge him too early because he's new to the club. He's playing in, I guess, a non-functioning team for the most part. And it was against Liverpool. So you don't want to be too harsh with him. But I wasn't all that impressed. Like, he linked up play well at times, but other times he just ran into players, some poor passing as well. Didn't excite me all that much. But willing to give him a chance because Let's be fair, it was Liverpool and he's not played that much for us. When Bruno hauls, what GIF am I going to use? Not sure yet. I'll just be happy that I've got some points. I'll even take an assist at this stage. Confirm my transfer. Isak to João Pedro done. Got 1 free transfer for Bruno to Salah. Oof, nice. Bailey is set to drop in price tonight. Should I transfer him out? Well, he has picked up an injury, so he might be out for game week 4. But we don't know right now. I don't think Unai Emery has said. I could be wrong. Hamstring issue as well. Hamstring's going to be a problem. I'd be tempted to move him. The problem is if he's fine after the break, he's got good fixtures. A hamstring issue, that's risky. Would you sell Watkins with him due to drop in price? Like, do you think Watkins is going to score points with the good fixtures they've got coming up? Ten Hag's 3rd season versus Slot's 3rd game, 3-0. Yeah, look, Ten Hag is pretty bad, I think, but I think the whole Slot thing is like, obviously it's really good, but Liverpool are a very settled and good team. So I get it, right? He's gone away to Old Trafford, smashed us 3-0. Like, it is great, and I'm not trying to deny it, but he hasn't come in and had to do some like massive job on Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? And I did say in pre-season that I just didn't expect this massive drop-off that everyone was predicting. Like, Liverpool are really settled. They've got good fixtures. Man United away is a good fixture, apparently. But he's done really well. I'm sure Liverpool fans loving him already. I mean, Slot said himself that he didn't need to change much. But yeah, Ten Hag, not great. I'm not expecting a massive turnaround at Man United, but let's see. Slot has done an incredible job with no signings. Yeah, but like, how many signings do Liverpool need, you know? A number 6, maybe? A backup centre-back? Backup for for Salah? Like, what else do they really need? They got 2 great right-backs. They got a good enough backup for Tsimikas. They got a ton of midfielders. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to like put down what Slot has done, but it's not like he's gone in and completely turned the fortunes around, you know? Although, come back to me at the end of the season when he's won the league. What do you say about Salah leaving Liverpool? Yeah, let's see if that actually happens. It sounds to me like he's maybe pushing for a new contract possibly, or to get them to talk to him. I'm not sure. Foden 9.3 could be crazy value at some point. Yep, absolutely. Are penalty takers still as advantageous as they once were? It seems like there's not half as many penalties as last season due to a reduced impact from VAR. There probably will be a reduced amount of penalties this season, but we shouldn't say after 3 game weeks that there's going to be less for sure, or there's going to be a ton less. Like, we're still going to get them. And penalties is just one part of the equation when you're picking players, right? That's it. It doesn't mean that you ignore anyone that doesn't take penalties, but it's a bonus. If you can get a player that's really good and they also take penalties, that's a big benefit, right? Like, you could probably look at it after the first 3 game weeks and say that Diaz and Jota are both pretty good, right? And they're probably quite close in terms of who you should go for. But if I suddenly told you that Luis Diaz was the penalty taker for Liverpool and it's not Jota, let's just say, for whatever reason I've taken penalties off Salah, you would just go for Diaz, wouldn't you? Because they're close, so you might as well take the penalty taker. So there will be fewer penalties this year, I'm sure. But it's still a factor when you're picking players. It's just another piece of information that you should use to make your decision. It doesn't mean that you should only buy penalty takers. Like, in Burmo is a really good option with decent stats from open play, but he also is great because he takes penalties, you know? I say that, I'm sat here with 1, 2, 3, 6 of my 7 attackers that I'm starting in game week 4 take penalties. So, there you go. At least I hope Eze's on penalties. All right, I think I'm going to leave it there. We've got a long 2 weeks now, or nearly 2 weeks. of content and stuff coming up. I'm not sure. There'll probably be a reduced content schedule this week just because it's international break and people tend to turn off, which they absolutely should. But thanks for joining me. If you have enjoyed that live stream, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button as well. I'll be back throughout this week and next week, and obviously we'll have a deadline stream for Gameweek 4 and all that good stuff. Enjoy the break. Enjoy watching Carsley's England. I'm very interested to see how he sets England up. If we absolutely smash it, then we'll know that football's coming home in 2026, as always. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not getting into England chat. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will catch you again soon.